Hey, let me tell you something that'll change the trajectory of your life. If you're brave enough to try it, focus only on yourself and stay silent. I know, it doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound flashy, but it's one of the most powerful personal development tools on the planet. Let's be real for a second. You wake up every single day with a battery, not a literal one, but your mental and emotional energy. And just like your phone, that battery drains. Decision by decision, distraction by distraction, thought by thought. You only get a limited amount of mental fuel each day. And the hard truth? Most people spend it on everything and everyone except themselves. You wake up and within 5 minutes you're already giving your energy away. Checking your phone, scrolling through other people's lives, comparing yourself to what they're doing, how they look, what they're achieving. You haven't even brushed your teeth yet, and your self-esteem is already under attack. Let me tell you something that neuroscience confirms. Your brain can't focus on everything. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and self-control, is finite. It gets tired. It wears out. So when you waste those early hours and your best energy on distractions, negativity, or drama, guess what's left for your goals? Nothing. And here's where it gets real. The more you focus on others, the less you develop yourself. You dilute your potential. You lose direction. Every time you obsess over what someone else is doing, how far ahead they are, how successful they seem, you're robbing yourself of the focus and momentum you need. You're essentially taking your own energy, your own power, and handing it over to someone else. And for what? Approval? A feeling of being in the loop? That doesn't pay your bills. It doesn't build your career. It doesn't make your life better. Focusing only on yourself is not selfish. It's survival. It's strategy. It's smart. When you narrow your attention to what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your routines, everything changes. You stop playing defense. You stop reacting. You start building. You start becoming. Let me give you an example. Imagine if for 30 days you put your phone down first thing in the morning. No social media, no emails, just 10 minutes for you. You sit down, you breathe. You write down your priorities. You move your body. You focus on what matters. Do you know how powerful that is? That single shift could change your confidence, your productivity, even your income, because you're using your most valuable resource, your attention on you. And here's the kicker. When you start doing this, people will notice, not because you told them, but because you're calmer, sharper, focused. You'll stop needing validation because you'll be living in alignment. Most people are exhausted, not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing too much that doesn't matter. They're leaking energy through drama, distractions, opinions, and trying to control things outside themselves. That's not hustle, that's self-sabotage. So what do you do instead? You protect your energy like it's gold, because it is. You say no to things that don't align with your purpose. You get quiet. You stop chasing and start creating. You stop trying to keep up and start showing up for yourself. Because once you do that, your life changes. Not all at once, but gradually and powerfully. One quiet, focused day at a time. So if you want results, not just noise, not just movement, but real lasting change, you've got to make a decision. Spend your energy on you, or spend your life wondering why you never became the person you were meant to be. Silence isn't weakness. It's not passivity, and it's definitely not invisibility. In fact, the most powerful people I know are the quietest. Why? Because they're not busy proving. They're busy improving. They're not explaining. They're executing. We live in a culture obsessed with noise. We feel this constant pressure to be seen, to be loud, to announce what we're doing. Hey, look at me. I'm grinding. I'm evolving. I'm starting something new. But here's the thing. Progress that's real doesn't need to be announced. It reveals itself. The most transformative work you'll ever do will happen in silence. When no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one even knows what you're doing. That's where real change happens. In the quiet moments, when you decide to show up for yourself, again and again, without recognition. You don't need to share every move. You don't need validation for every goal, because silence builds discipline, and discipline builds results. Let's bring some neuroscience into this. Your brain is constantly scanning for feedback. It wants to know, am I doing the right thing? Is this safe? Is this valuable? And if you're used to relying on external feedback, likes, praise, attention, then your motivation is going to crash the moment people stop noticing. That's a dangerous place to live. But when you work in silence, you're retraining your brain. You're teaching yourself that internal commitment is enough. You stop looking outward for permission and start looking inward for purpose. Now, some people confuse silence with suppression. If I don't talk about my goals, am I not owning them? No, you're owning them even more. You're protecting them. Because here's a hard truth. Not everyone wants you to grow. Not everyone is rooting for you. And when you share too early, you invite doubt, distraction, and sometimes even sabotage. Psychologists call it the intention behavior. It means that when you talk too much about what you're going to do, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical you'd get if you actually did the thing. So you feel satisfied before you've even started. That's the trap. Talking about your goals can trick your brain into thinking you've already achieved them. That's why silent action is so powerful. It keeps the hunger alive. It keeps you focused on doing instead of declaring. Think about it. When you plant it, you don't rip it out every day to check if it's growing. You water it. You nurture it. You give it space and silence. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens underground, in stillness. That's you. You're planting something, a new version of yourself, a new business, a new mindset. And you've got to protect that. Not hide it. Protect it. Nurture it. In silence. Build it in peace. Then let the results speak so loud you won't have to. And I want to be really clear. Silence doesn't mean isolation. It means intentional focus. It means you're choosing your inner voice over the noise of the world. It means you're grounded. You're not reactive. You're in control. You don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need applause to be valid. All you need is to commit quietly, fiercely, to the process. Because when you choose silence, you choose power. And when the time comes, your results will do all the talking. Let them wonder what you're up to. Let them guess. And while they're watching, you'll be winning. You want to know one of the fastest ways to drain your energy, kill your confidence, and delay your goals? Start comparing yourself to everyone around you. Scroll long enough, and you'll convince yourself that you're behind in life. Someone else is fitter, richer, more successful, more in love, more disciplined, more everything. But here's the truth that social media won't show you. Comparison is a trap, and it's a trap you walk into voluntarily. When you compare yourself to other people, you're doing something incredibly dangerous. You're measuring your behind-the-scenes reality against someone else's highlight reel. And that's not just unfair, it's toxic. You're comparing your self-doubt, your messy middle, your personal struggles, to their filtered success, their posed confidence, their best moments, often edited and exaggerated for attention. It's not a fair fight, and you lose every single time. Neuroscience backs this up. Your brain is wired to notice patterns and seek meaning. It wants to understand where you fit in the world. That's natural. But the problem is that your brain doesn't always compare logically. It compares emotionally. And emotion isn't rational. You see someone hit a milestone you haven't reached yet. And suddenly, your brain interprets that as, I'm behind, I'm failing, I'm not good enough. That is a lie. But if you don't learn to manage those thoughts, you'll start believing them. You'll hesitate. You'll shrink. You'll feel overwhelmed and discouraged. And instead of using that energy to take action, you'll waste it spinning in self-doubt. Comparison paralyzes progress. It keeps you stuck in a mental loop of why not me instead of focusing on what next. Let me give you something real. You're not behind. You're on your path. And your path. In your path. It's going to look different from anyone else's. Why? Because you're not them. You have a different story, different wiring, different obstacles, different time. When you accept that, when you truly own it, you free yourself. When you focus only on yourself, something shifts. You stop measuring and you start building. You stop competing and you start creating. You replace comparison with commitment. And that is when everything starts to move. Because here's what most people don't understand. The people you compare yourself to, they have their own battles. You don't see the late nights, the fear, the therapy, the breakdowns, the work it took to get where they are. All you see is the result. But results are never the full story. Don't let their chapter 20 make you doubt your chapter 20. Comparison makes you feel like you're losing a race you never agreed to run. So stop running it. Instead, ask yourself, what am I building? What do I need today? What step can I take right now that gets me closer to my version of success? That's the only race that matters. The one between who you are today and who you're becoming. You don't grow by watching others. You grow by working on yourself, by turning your attention inward, by showing up even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. And here's the irony. The moment you stop comparing, you start accelerating, because now all that energy you wasted looking sideways, it's going straight into your goals, your craft, your healing, your focus. You become dangerous when you stop looking around and start looking ahead. You stop needing approval and start gaining clarity. And when that happens, there's no competition, just momentum. So next time you catch yourself comparing, pause and remember, they're not your competition, they're a distraction. Eyes on your own paper, head down, work in, game on. Your brain is the most powerful tool you own, and most people are using it on autopilot. That's a problem, because when your brain doesn't have clear direction, it wanders, it reacts, it overthinks, and eventually it becomes a liability instead of an asset. Let me break this down for you in simple terms. Your brain is like a GPS. It wants a destination. It needs instructions. And if you don't give it one, it doesn't just sit quietly. It picks a route for you, based on fear, habit, or worst-case scenario. That's why people feel stuck, anxious, or overwhelmed. Their mind is in control of them, instead of the other way around. Now here's the empowering part. You can take the wheel. You can train your brain to work for you, not against you. And it all starts with intention. You have to wake up and give your brain a job. Not 50 jobs. Not a vague idea. A clear, direct command. Otherwise, it will default to distraction, comparison, procrastination, or worry. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. And this thing is incredible. It acts like a filter. It decides what information gets through and what gets ignored. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm behind, I'm not good enough, this will never work. Guess what your brain does? It finds evidence to support that story. It tunes you into failure, even if opportunities are right in front of you. But the opposite is also true. If you say today, I'm focused, I'm growing, I can handle whatever comes, your brain goes to work filtering the world through that lens. It looks for wins. It finds solutions. It builds confidence. You are literally programming your mindset with every thought and every word. That's not woo-woo. That's neuroscience. Let me give you something practical. Most people wake up and immediately react. They check their phone. They see messages, notifications, bad news, and boom, their brain is already being pulled in a dozen directions. That's how you lose the day before it even starts. But if you wake up and immediately direct your mind, even for 5 minutes, everything shifts. You sit up, you breathe, you say out loud, here's what I'm doing today, here's what matters, here's who I'm becoming. That simple act of setting direction is life-changing, because what you focus on expands. If you focus on stress, you'll feel more of it. If you focus on growth, you'll find ways to grow. Your brain is obedient, but you've got to speak its language. Repetition, emotion, clarity. You have to be ruthless about where your attention goes. Why? Because attention is energy, and energy builds reality. You can't afford to spend it on stuff that doesn't move you forward. And don't confuse direction with perfection. This isn't about being flawless. It's about being intentional. You might stumble, you might mess up, but if your mind is pointed in the right direction, you'll keep moving. This is why people who journal, meditate, visualize, they're not just doing rituals. They're training their brain to focus, to prioritize, to align. That's what gives them the edge. That's what builds resilience. Not magic, not luck, direction. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, unfocused, or just plain stuck, it's not because you're lazy. It's because your brain is running wild, and it needs you to step in and take control. Every morning ask yourself, What matters today? What do I want to feel? What do I need to do? Then point your brain in that direction. Hold it there. Recalibrate when it drifts. Because the truth is, you don't need more motivation. You need better mental direction. And right now, in a world addicted to noise, distraction, and multitasking, it's the rarest and most valuable skill you can have. Everyone wants results. Everyone wants transformation. But very few people are willing to eliminate the chaos long enough to concentrate on one thing. That's why so many stay stuck. Let me hit you with some science. Your brain is designed to focus on one thing at a time, period. Multitasking? It's a myth. When you switch from task to task, your brain burns fuel every time it shifts. That's called attention residue, and it drains your mental energy. You're not being productive. You're being busy. And there's a massive difference. Focus isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, and doing it well. It's about blocking out the noise so you can actually hear yourself think. So you can access your creativity, your instincts, your inner wisdom, the part of you that knows exactly what you need to do next, if you just sit still long enough to listen. Most people can't sit still for 5 minutes. Their attention is hijacked by notifications, emails, TikTok, group chats, gossip, the news and other people's opinions. Their brain becomes like a browser with 37 tabs open, overwhelmed, scattered, glitched, and they wonder why they feel burnt out. It's not always because they're doing too much. It's because their focus is fractured. You don't need more time. You need more attention on the right thing. You need to stop leaking mental energy on what doesn't serve you, and start directing your full focus toward your goals, your growth, your healing. And here's the thing about focus. It's a muscle. It gets stronger with use. But only if you train. If you spend all day reacting to every ping, every message, every distraction, you're weakening that muscle. But if you start building focus intentionally, everything changes. Want to change your life? Try this for 1 week. Pick one priority each day. Just write it down in the morning. Block out 90 minutes to work on it. No distractions. No phones. No multitasking. You will be shocked at how fast your progress accelerates. Not because you worked harder, but because you worked with clarity. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Success isn't about talent. It's about the ability to stay focused on what matters, long enough for it to grow. Focused people get results, because they're not bouncing from idea to idea. They commit. They go deep. They execute. While everyone else is consuming content and talking about what they're going to do someday, focused people are putting in the reps, quietly, consistently, powerfully. And when you learn to focus, you don't just get more done, you become more grounded, more confident, more in control of your mind. Because focus isn't just a productivity hack, it's a form of self-respect. It's you saying, my attention is mine, my time is mine, I'm not giving it away for free. Protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. And when you start to feel overwhelmed, or like you're falling behind, don't try to do more. Do less, with more intention. Shut out the noise. Silence the world. Come back to your center. Then ask yourself, what matters right now? What's the one thing I can do today that moves me closer to the life I want? Then go do that, with full presence, with full focus. Because in a world of noise, the person who can focus becomes unstoppable, and that person can be you. Let's get something straight. You don't need to talk about everything you're working on. You don't need to broadcast every move you're making. In fact, the more energy you spend talking, the less energy you have left for doing. It's time to flip the script. Stop announcing your goals, start achieving them. Let your results speak. The most confident people I know aren't the ones yelling the loudest. They're the ones quietly building something real. They're not obsessed with being seen. They're obsessed with being effective. That's the difference. Loud is easy. Loud is cheap. Results. That takes discipline. That takes grit. That takes work done in the dark. When no one is clapping, no one is cheering, and no one is even paying attention. And the best part, when you put your head down and get to work, your progress becomes undeniable. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to explain yourself. Because real results are loud enough on their own. They turn heads. They shift energy. They earn respect. Not because you asked for it, but because you became it. Let's talk about the psychology behind this. There's a phenomenon called social reality. When you talk about a goal out loud, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. It feels like you've already achieved something just by saying it. But here's the problem. Your brain starts to believe you've done the work, even when you haven't. That's dangerous. That's the trap. So every time you tell 5 people what you're going to do, you're actually tricking your brain into feeling satisfied before you've taken a single meaningful step. You're leaking power. You're giving away energy that should be fueling your execution. Now, I'm not saying you can't be excited. I'm not saying you should keep your dreams hidden. But if you're using your voice to seek approval instead of to declare ownership, you've already lost momentum. There is a massive difference between confidence and performance. One talks, the other shows. If you're serious about growth, let your actions build the story, because you don't owe people an explanation for your silence, and you don't need their applause to move forward. You just need clarity, consistency, and the ability to tune out the noise. There is something powerful, almost sacred, about keeping things to yourself while they're growing. When a tree is taking root, you don't see it. When a foundation is being poured, it's buried. The strongest parts of anything are built in silence. You're not hiding, you're building, you're not avoiding, you're preparing. And when it's ready, when you're ready, the results will speak volumes. You want to know what the loudest flex in 2025 is? Peace, consistency, mastery. Walking into a room and not needing to say a word, because your energy, your results, and your growth speak louder than anything you could post. And here's what's beautiful. When you finally show up with real progress, people will notice. Not because you told them to, but because you've become undeniable. Your work, your mindset, your transformation, all of it will do the talking for you. So if you're in a season right now where you're putting in the work and no one sees it, keep going. If you're evolving, healing, rebuilding, and it feels lonely, keep going. If you're holding it down in silence while others seek attention, keep going. You are not behind. You're becoming, because one day the results will speak. The habits will show. The progress will glow. And the world won't have to wonder what you've been doing. They'll see it. They'll feel it. And you won't have to say a word. So here's the truth. The world will keep getting louder. The pressure to compare, explain, prove, and perform, it's not going anywhere. But you don't have to play that game. You've got something better. You've got focus. You've got discipline. You've got silence. Not as a weakness, but as a weapon. You're not here to impress people. You're here to improve yourself. While others are distracted, you're training your mind. While others are talking, you're doing the work. While others are chasing attention, you're building something real. And that's how the game is won. Because the ones who rise, the ones who build lives they're proud of, are the ones who know how to protect their energy, manage their thoughts, and commit to the process even when nobody's watching. So I'm asking you right now, cut the noise. Stop waiting for validation. Drop the obsession with where everyone else is. Get back to you. Focus only on yourself. And stay silent. Not because you're small, but because you're becoming powerful. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're letting your results do the talking. Because one day the world will look up and ask, where did they come from? And you'll smile because you already know the answer. You never left. You just stayed focused. And that's what changed everything.